Crimson Desert looks like the moment a studio says, what if we just build everything we love about action RPGs? No compromises. It's huge, loud, and surprisingly playful. And after hands-on time at recent shows, it might also be the most divisive open-world combat system of the next few years. If by the end of this video, you know whether it's your next obsession, do me a favor. Tap like so YouTube sends this to more players who need clarity. And subscribe so you don't miss the follow-ups as new builds drop. Alright, let's unpack what this game actually is. But there's a catch almost nobody mentions until they feel it in their hands. Crimson Desert is a single-player, open-world action RPG from Pearl Abyss, the Black Desert team. You're dropped into a war-torn map, factions, oaths, betrayals, and told to make your name the hard way. It's not just checklists on a pretty map. It's a stew of duels, sieges, airborne traversal, environmental destruction, and a combat engine that rewards you for mastering inputs instead of button mashing. Imagine a grounded fantasy world that secretly borrowed a page from physics toy sandboxes. Climb, glide, break, improvise, repeat. You can feel the studio's "we're building a playground" energy in almost every system. Sounds like a dream, right? Here's where expectations get stress tested. The first 10 minutes, don't pretend this is simple. Tutorials usually lie to you. This one doesn't. Crimson Desert teaches light and heavy chains, launchers, guard breaks, parries, a grab game, bow tech, and a focus mechanic that ties battlefield moments together before you're allowed to style on anyone. Inputs can be multi-button and directional, the timing windows matter, and the payoff doesn't happen by accident. If you've ever learned a new weapon in a deep combat game and felt clumsy for half an hour before something clicked, that's the on-ramp. If that ramp scares you, make a mental note now. But the second you push past clumsy, something obvious happens. The combat stops looking like flailing and starts looking like expression. Launch into an airstring, pepper the target mid-juggle with slow-mo bow shots, spike them to the floor, then swap elements on your weapon for a burst window. Dodges turn into punishes, parries pop armor, grabs reposition the mess. The kind of system where, after a little lab time, you find your flow, and the game just sings. Enemies that used to feel like walls become puzzles you tear open because you've learned how your tools talk to each other. And just when you feel comfortable, the game asks a spicy question. Focus. That controversial banner sequence people keep arguing about is emblematic of the design. In the thick of a push, you trigger a rally moment with several precise inputs to plant a standard and swing momentum. It's deliberate, not flashy for its own sake. The same focus logic shows up elsewhere. In a boss arena, breaking a pillar at the right time becomes a massive punish you can trigger if you keep your head. The message is consistent. Learn it, and you'll cash big checks. Ignore it, and the game never opens all the way. Okay, but is this just combat dressed up as a map? Not quite. Traversal is shockingly nimble for a gritty fantasy. You get the tactile pleasure of climbing readable surfaces, the freedom hit of double jumps into crow wing glides, and route planning that starts to feel like a puzzle in itself. The map leans vertical, sky islands and layered fortifications, so mobility matters. Mounts expand your reach, yes, but the real joy is stitching moves together. Climb, glide, grapple adjacent solutions. Then hit ground contact, already thinking about your first target and where you'll shove them next. That controller momentum, weighty but responsive, glues exploration to combat, so your run never feels segmented. And the world doesn't just stand there politely while you pose. Set pieces are where the game flexes. Sieges aren't backdrops, they're problems you solve with your kit. Cannon fire and special arrows can bring down structures. Deleting sniper nests before you breach. In duels, arenas break and become tools. It isn't the old watch the cutscene, hit the weak spot, repeat. It's you altering the space to get cleaner damage or safer windows. That gives the spectacle teeth. Even small outposts feel alive when destruction changes your route, rather than just making a mess for the sake of it. So, who is this actually for, and who should wait? If you love learning systems, Monster Hunter weapon mains, character action fans who still remember their favorite launcher routes, you're the target. Crimson Desert is built for people who enjoy the moment when technical finally becomes natural. If multi-input commands make you roll your eyes, or you want 2 buttons and cinematic autocool, you might feel friction that never quite goes away. That isn't a failure, it's identity. The game chooses depth over instant comfort. Honest design is polarizing. This one is proud of that. All right, big question. What should you expect between now and launch? Roadmap-wise, the team has bought themselves time. That's good. Not because more time is magic, but because onboarding and input clarity are exactly the things polishing cycles can transform. What I'll be watching: how early the game lets you remap and macro complex sequences, whether the tutorial stays honest and gets friendlier, and how consistently set pieces reward environmental awareness instead of scripted beats. If those 3 trend well, the ceiling becomes reachable for more players without flattening the depth that makes this special. And there's one last layer that might make or break it for you. Progression. Under the spectacle sits an RPG core, gear, materials, and upgrades that don't just buff numbers, they tilt your expression. An element swap that used to be optional becomes a habit when you realize it primes a status that guarantees a stagger on a specific elite. A bow perk you ignored becomes the bridge that turns mid-air flourishes into finishers. The question isn't, does it have loot? It's, does the loot alter the way you play? From what we've seen, that answer leans yes, and that's where long-term obsession lives. So, should you be excited or cautious? Here's the honest take. Be excited if you like earning your power. If learning inputs to unlock new lines of play sounds fun, this world will feed you for a long time. Be cautious if you want a simple ride. This isn't that. The beauty of Crimson Desert is that it dares to be too much on purpose and trusts players to meet it halfway. If the team nails onboarding and remapping, it'll keep more people on the ride without sanding off the edge that makes it cool. That's the tightrope. That's the thrill. If this breakdown helped you decide whether Crimson Desert belongs on your radar, hit like. It genuinely helps the channel reach the right audience. Subscribe if you want the no-nonsense follow-ups, real changes and new builds, not recycled hype. And tell me below, what's your personal deal breaker? Complex inputs or a world that feels big but empty? I'm reading every take. Until next time, go enjoy something that challenges you a little. You might be surprised how fast complicated turns into I can't put this down.